senators and ambitious generals engaged in a deadly game, fabricating alliances that quickly turned to treachery. Emperors were dispatched in the dark of night, ensuring stability was a fleeting memory. In only 50 years, Rome endured the reign of 25 emperors, illustrating that the fiercest battles rage not outside the gates, but within the very heart. By the 3rd century AD, a silent predator stalked Rome's halls of power. Corrupt. In 1983, the world teetered on the brink of chaos. Ronald Reagan, the American president, labeled the Soviet Union as an evil empire, igniting fierce animosity. This declaration did not go unnoticed. General Secretary Yuri Andropov, a man molded by the KGB, felt the weight of Reagan's words deeply. The atmosphere was thick with mistrust, and paranoia loomed over both nations. The Soviets, gripped by fear, underwent a transformation, believing a surprise nuclear strike from the US was imminent. As a response, Operation Ryan was born, a secret endeavor focused on identifying American signals of aggression. Every military maneuver, every unusual act by the US, would be scrutinized under a microscope, effectively priming the USSR to retaliate with nuclear force at the slightest hint of provocation. In November 1983, NATO launched its annual military exercise Able Archer 83, but it felt different this time. The atmosphere was charged with an intensity that echoed through the halls of military command. Encrypted messages flowed like whispers of impending doom, while stealth troop movements were meticulously orchestrated under the cloak of secrecy. High-stakes DEFCON simulations were underway, as personnel rehearsed scenarios that included the chilling prospect of launching nuclear artillery. Soviet surveillance was relentless. Hidden beneath the layers of cloud and time, satellites captured every minute detail. Spies tangled in a web of shadow and intrigue observed, ever watchful. Their interpretation of these military maneuvers divided the air with dread, morphing what was meant as a drill into a perceived prelude to catastrophe. World War III looming as a specter over all involved, just a heartbeat away. In the shadowy corridors of power, a whisper reverberated. The West was poised for a strike. Without a moment's hesitation, Soviet forces sprang into action. The air was thick with tension as missile launchers hummed to life, sending vibrations through the ground. Submarines lurking beneath the icy waves readied their deadly payloads, while fighter jets in East Germany, sleek and lethal, stood poised with nuclear warheads glimmering in the pale light. As the clock ticked, two worlds stood on the brink of chaos. One side meticulously rehearsed its maneuvers in grim anticipation, rehearsing strategies born from decades of rivalry. Meanwhile, the other side remained blissfully unaware, caught in the mundane current of daily life, oblivious to the silent standoff that hung ominously over the horizon. Ultimately, undercurrents of fear and strategy wove a complex tapestry, threading through the Cold War's tense narrative. In the chill of a Soviet bunker, Stanislav Petrov sat quietly, the weight of the world pressing against his shoulders. As a mid-level officer responsible for monitoring early warning systems, his nights were typically uneventful, yet the shadows of tension loomed ever closer in the darkened corners around him. On that fateful night, the shrill sound of an alarm shattered the stillness, declaring that 5 American missiles were racing toward Soviet soil. A mere 10 seconds stretched like eternity as Petrov grappled with the imminent decision that could spell devastation for millions. Instinctively, protocol urged him to report the inbound threat, to trigger a reaction that would set off a sequence of retaliatory strikes. But something flickered in the back of his mind, a doubt that begged for attention. Why would the US launch only 5 missiles? If they intended to strike, surely they would unleash an entire arsenal. In that brief moment as the clock ticked down, Petrov's heart raced but his mind remained steadfast. Defying the unyielding grip of training, he paused to diffuse the overwhelming pressure and embraced an unexpected insight. In a remarkable act of intuition, he declared the situation a false alarm, defying orders and the machinery of war. As minutes ticked by, he watched the systems reset, only to later discover that no missiles were fired. By choosing to take no action, Petrov became an unsung hero, a sentinel of peace whose split-second decision might have spared the world from catastrophic conflict, reminding all that sometimes silence can be the loudest declaration of bravery. In November 1983, a military exercise known as Able Archer 83 was set in motion. simulating a NATO response to a potential Soviet threat. Unbeknownst to the participants, the air was thick with tension, the stakes higher than anyone could fathom. As the exercise unfolded, the Soviets monitored every move, their radar watching closely. Each simulated missile strike met with a palpable anxiety that crackled through the Eastern Bloc. The tension escalated as misinterpretations abounded. The Soviets believed they were on the brink of a genuine conflict. In a world shadowed by Cold War paranoia, the atmosphere grew increasingly electric, with both sides readying for what could have spiraled into global chaos. Decisions were made in the heat of uncertainty, where protocols whispered threats of escalation. Yet amid the looming catastrophe, one man shone brightly with conviction. As pressure mounted to fulfill commands, he stood firm against the tide of conformity, grappling with the weight of potential annihilation. His refusal to follow orders without question altered the course of history, diffusing a crisis that could have ignited World War III. Caution prevailed over impulse, and his bravery prevented a potential disaster from unfolding. Years later, the truth emerged from the shadows, illuminating the fine line between prepared response and reckless trigger. Declassified documents revealed the harrowing details of that near catastrophe, a chilling reminder of how close humanity danced with destruction. And so, the echoes of Able Archer 83 remind us that sometimes, the greatest acts of heroism are found in the quiet resolve to question the call to arms. Imagine a world on the brink of destruction, a civilization teetering between chaos and survival. It was a seemingly innocuous moment, centered around a drill that became a pivotal point in human history. As tensions mounted and decisions weighed heavily, a choice had to be made, a choice that could alter the course of our existence forever. Risk hung in the air, tangible as shadows of uncertainty loomed large. This story is one of those untold epics where a small action had the power to unleash unimaginable consequences. The whispers of this nearly forgotten event deserve to be heard. They remind us of our fragility and resilience, urging us to listen and learn. So share this tale, ignite conversations, and ensure that we honor our past. For in understanding it, we fortify our future.